You wake up, make your coffee, and take that first sip. It feels normal. It feels safe. But what if that same cup is adding tiny plastic particles into your body every single morning? Not sometimes. Every day. And over time, it builds into something massive. Stay with me, because by the end, you will see how your simple coffee habit connects back to the title, Billions of Plastic Particles. Let's start with what scientists actually found. Researchers tested real coffee, the kind people drink every day. The result was clear. Every single hot coffee sample contained microplastics. Not a few random cases. All of them. Now here is where it gets serious. Hot coffee had more plastic than cold coffee. One study found about 43 particles per liter in hot coffee. Cold coffee had less, around 37. That gap exists for one reason: heat. Remember this, because it explains everything that comes next. Heat makes plastic break down faster, and your coffee is hot enough to trigger that process. So now the question is simple. Where is the plastic coming from? First, the cup. Most takeaway coffee cups look like paper. But they are not just paper. Inside, there is a thin plastic lining, usually polyethylene. This layer stops the cup from leaking. But when hot coffee touches it, the plastic starts to release tiny particles. You cannot see them. You cannot taste them. But they are there within minutes. That paper cup you trust is actually a plastic surface touching your hot drink. Now let's move to the second source, the lid. That plastic lid sits right where the heat rises. Steam hits it, coffee touches it, and every sip passes through that area. Over time, tiny fragments break off and mix into your drink. Third source, the coffee machine. Inside many machines, hot water flows through plastic tubes and parts. With time, these parts wear down. Older machines release more plastic than newer ones. So before your coffee even reaches the cup, it may already contain microplastics. Pause here for a second. Cup, lid, machine. That's already 3 points of contact with plastic. But there is more. Fourth source, filters and coffee bags. Some filters are made with synthetic materials like polypropylene or PET. When hot water passes through them, they can release microplastics. One study found that using certain coffee bags daily can expose a person to more than 50,000 particles per year. And that is just one part of the process. Now let's connect this to your daily routine. Let's say you drink 1 cup of coffee every day, around 300 milliliters. That sounds small, but over 1 year, that adds up to about 363,000 microplastic particles entering your body from coffee alone. 1 cup feels harmless. But daily habits multiply fast. Now think about this. Most people do not skip coffee. It is not an occasional drink. It is a daily routine. That repetition is what turns a small number into a large one. Day after day, month after month, year after year, that is how exposure grows. Now let's go deeper into why heat matters so much. Plastic is stable at lower temperatures, but when heat increases, the material weakens. Tiny pieces start to break away. These pieces are microplastics. Your coffee is usually very hot when it is poured. That means maximum stress on every plastic surface it touches. Coffee is not just sitting in the cup. It is reacting with it. Now think about how common this is. Around the world, about 500 billion disposable coffee cups are used every year. Most of them have plastic linings. That means billions of chances for microplastics to enter drinks every single day. And it is not just takeaway coffee. Even at home, many brewing systems include plastic parts. If your setup uses plastic filters, plastic components, or synthetic materials, you still have exposure. So the problem is not one item. It is the entire system around your coffee. Now let's talk about size. Microplastics are tiny, but there are even smaller ones called nanoplastics. These are harder to detect and may move more easily inside the body. Research is still ongoing, but the presence of these particles raises more questions. Now bring your focus back again. You started with a simple cup of coffee. Now you can see it is part of a chain. Heat, plastic materials, daily, repetition. This chain is what builds your exposure over time. Here is another important point. Not all coffee setups are the same. Coffee in a ceramic mug usually has less risk from the cup itself because ceramic does not contain plastic. Coffee brewed with glass or metal equipment also reduces contact with plastic. On the other hand, takeaway cups, plastic lids, and certain filters increase exposure. So how you prepare your coffee matters. Now think about your exact routine. Do you grab coffee on the go? Do you use a machine with plastic parts? Do you stir it with a plastic stick? Each step may look small, but each step adds another point where plastic can enter your drink. And this is what most people never think about. Now let's connect everything back to the title. How does your morning cup relate to billions of plastic particles? Not in one day, not in one cup, but over time. If 1 year of daily coffee gives you hundreds of thousands of particles, then multiple years push that number into the millions. But here is where it gets even more serious. Most people do not drink just 1 cup. Many drink 2 or 3 cups a day. That means the number can double or even triple. So instead of 300,000 particles a year, it can move closer to 600,000 or even 1 million, depending on your habit. Now pause and think about that. Your daily routine is not small. It is repeated exposure. Add other daily sources like food packaging and water, and the total exposure keeps growing. Every plastic bottle, every packaged snack, every heated container adds more particles into your system. Now combine everything. Coffee in the morning, packaged food during the day, plastic contact again at night. This is not one moment. This is a full day cycle. Over a lifetime, this accumulation becomes very large. That is where the idea of billions comes into play across long-term exposure and multiple sources. But here is something even more important. Most of this exposure is invisible. You cannot see it in your cup. You cannot smell it. You cannot taste it. That is why people ignore it, because it does not feel real. If you cannot see the problem, you will never question it. Now go back to your coffee again. Hot liquid, plastic contact, daily repetition. These 3 things together create a constant flow of microplastics entering your body. And remember, heat is always present in coffee. That means the condition for plastic release is always active, every single morning. Now ask yourself one simple question. How many years have you been drinking coffee like this? 5 years? 10 years? More? Now multiply that by daily exposure. That is how small numbers turn into massive totals. It all starts with something that feels normal. Your morning coffee. Now the key takeaway. Your coffee is not just a drink. It interacts with the materials around it. Heat drives that interaction. And repetition increases the total exposure. And once you understand this, you start noticing things you ignored before. The cup, the lid, the machine, the filter. All of them play a role. You do not need to panic, but you should be aware, because awareness changes behavior. Even small changes in how you prepare your coffee can reduce exposure over time. And when something is repeated every day, even small improvements matter. Now bring it back one last time. Tomorrow morning, when you pick up your cup, you will remember this. It looks simple. It feels normal. But behind that one habit is a process happening again and again. And over time, that process connects directly back to the title. Your morning cup is part of how plastic builds up inside your body, one sip at a time. Because once you understand what is happening, you start seeing your daily habits differently. Tomorrow morning, when you take that first sip, you will remember this. It is not just coffee. It is a daily contact with plastic. And over time, that simple habit connects back to the title. How your morning cup is releasing plastic particles again and again, building up with every single day.